Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 p.m. and time to begin our Planning Commission for this month. We will begin tonight with the invocation to be given by Commissioner Gerber and the flag salute to be led by Commissioner Baker. Would you all please stand?
Dear Lord, please guide our hand and help us make the best decisions that are in the self-interest of all the citizens of Yukon. Grant us your wisdom. Please look out for all of our first responders, all of our military across the world, and any of the people that are affected by some of the storms and heavy weather going on in the Atlantic.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Kathy, please.
Chairman Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Vice Chairman Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Gerba,
Here.
Commissioner Geese.
Here. Item 1 is the approval of the minutes of the August 12th meeting. Commissioners have had an opportunity to look them over. Do we have a motion or any corrections? I move we approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Geis,
Here.
Commissioner Gerba,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Chairman Taylor.
Abstain. Item 2 is the visitors section. If there anyone that's here tonight that would like to address the commissioners about a non-agenda item, now would be the time to step forward. Okay, seeing none, we will proceed. Item 3 is to hear a request by Salazar Homes Incorporated for a rezone from C5 Automotive and Commercial Recreational District to a C3 Restricted Commercial District located at 450 East Main Street, Yukon, Oklahoma. Do we have someone here from Salazar Homes, please? Please state your name and address, please.
Brenda Wyatt. The address of Salazar Homes is 209 East Main, Yukon, Oklahoma, 73099. My home address is 1410 Valley Ridge Road, Norman, Oklahoma, 73072.
Thank you.
Certainly. Salazar Homes is requesting to change the zoning from C5 to C3. We have a sales contract to a church, and we'd like to be able to sell the building to them. According to what I've read in the agenda, the staff has reviewed the application and finds the rezoning appropriate. There are already multiple churches in that area, and I believe there's plenty of ability for ingress and egress without adversely affecting traffic in any way. So we would just ask that you allow us to rezone that property.
Okay. Any of the commissioners have questions for this lady? If not, would someone care to read the motion?
I'll read the motion.
Okay.
In the case of the rezoning application by Salazar Homes, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with the staff findings cited in the report. I move that this item be recommended for approval to the City Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this item. Is there any discussion from the audience? Call the roll, please.
Chairman Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Gerba,
Yes.
Commissioner Geis.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You realize you have to appear before the city council also on this. Okay. Item 4 is to hear a request by Stephen Landis, Landis Engineering, on behalf of Ashton Gray LLC for a rezone C3 Restricted Commercial District to an R2 PUD Combined Residential District located on 2200 North Yukon Parkway, Yukon, Oklahoma. This piece of ground is immediately north of Life Church and in between before you get to the daycare system, street building there. So it has a bunch of meets and bounds that I'm not going to read, but the address is 200 North Yukon Parkway. Is there someone here with this application?
My name's Steve Landis with Landis Engineering, 903 East 35th Street, Shawnee, Oklahoma. Personal address is 1251 Lakewood Drive, Norman, Oklahoma.
Thank you, sir. Tell us about what you want to do, sir.
Well, sir, I'm here representing Ashton Gray. They had actually looked at the piece of property. They're looking at trying to do a small cul-de-sac. And install duplex housing on this with the cul-de-sac. There had been discussions of looking at a gated entrance, but after talking with the city, the idea was to go ahead and plat it and set it up where we actually did it just as a public street. Based off the city planner's recommendation, we put the sidewalks. We do have a small park area at the front that actually would be a combined park and stormwater detention dry pond that would take care of the detention. The detention that actually runs through this parcel is the one that actually comes from what Yukon Crossing underneath Yukon Parkway and comes through here and then continues to the east, and pretty much follows the same general path right now as where the pathway is through the detention and off to that same corner. In the process of putting this together, we had looked at different options, met with the city, discussed certain things. I had actually gotten with the Rhonda Dennis with Rosewood HOA to actually have them review and look at this proposal as well. I had a really good time discussing different options and different ideas. I think they had looked at it. When she had actually gotten with me and gotten through the PUD and some of the comments, we've had a couple of emails we'd sent back and forth. One of the items that had actually been discussed that she said that she and kind of her partner on, that actually works with the HOA, was they definitely wanted to find that there was a minimum 65% brick, rock, or different type surfaces on this. And I think we've put 90%. So we actually plan on making it higher end in the first place. We at one time had wanted to define this more for elderly housing to a certain extent, but it's a little bit hard, and they said we do not really want to refine it at this point, for that specifically. So there'd be potentially a little bit more diversity. Let me see, other than that, we kind of went through the different items on there, so I think we're going to 90% brick at least minimum. One of the other items I had, of course, I knew the way that the city of Yukon operates, you hopefully can get through approval of the PUD, with y'all's assistance, and the preliminary plat. But of course, we held off on the final plat because I did get a copy of the Rosewood HOA, and we've gone through that document several times and really like the way that they've orchestrated and packaged this. And really my idea is to go ahead and put together the HOA that really mirrors the ideas of what Rosewood have done and try to maintain that same cohesiveness within that area. And then, between the HOA requirements and everything else, between mailboxes, etc., and then try to keep the same integrity of that general region out there together. So my full intent, of course, is to go ahead and if we can get approval on these two items, finish our development plans, and then work out the HOA, submit it to Rhonda or that same Rosewood organization, have them review this as well, make sure that we can work with the surrounding communities, and see if we can make sure that everybody is in concurrence in that neighborhood or in that surrounding area with what we're trying to do as best we possibly can, and then hopefully try to move that forward with the final plat. One of the other things we'd have tried to do at the time was, I know there's at least another subdivision to the north. We did try to find out the HOA information with them to try to go ahead and make contact, and I have to say and I have to admit that I was unable to really make any contact there and just was unable to really find a way to run anybody down. So I tried, and hopefully if there's any issues, maybe we can get with them later. Thank you.
All right. I have some questions for you, sir.
I'm sorry.
How many units do you plan to put in? This is a little over 4 acres, I understand.
Yes, there's 13 units on it total.
Now, that's 13 buildings,
13 buildings, I'm sorry, which would be
so there'd
26.
be
total.
26 units
Yes, sir.
in there.
Yes, sir.
You say you've talked to Rosewood, have you contacted the people directly across the street, which are putting in duplexes also?
We caught that one. The only one I did was I got with, of course, originally when I'd worked with this on another property, I would talk with the engineer at one time that worked through that system right there. And of course, they really didn't have any real comment associated with it.
What made you decide to do duplexes?
We were possibly looking at some other alternative, but the cost of the land, I think, actually was too excessive for single-family homes based off the size of what was necessary with the cost of the roads, water, and sewer, as well as I'm doing what, my client was Ashton Gray, and I think they have some really nicer higher-end facilities, and they're actually a large organization from Dallas, or from Houston. Their main headquarters up in Edmond, and they're developing quite extensively. That was part of their intent and interest in doing that on that piece of ground.
How large will individual units be? Are they all going to be the same?
I think
Are they going to be
sorry.
duplicates of one another?
I think there will have variations on the exterior. In that PUD, there's the general floor plan that they're planning on using. At one time, we looked at R3 and just putting all under one ownership, and it was really more decided and described through the city that it would be better to actually make them individual lots based off sizing and to make sure it all fit really more towards y'all's directions and goals.
So how many square feet are they going to be approximately?
Oh, I can look through the document real quick, but I think, of course, the total units I think are about 22 or 2,300, which makes each unit about 1,000.
1,100, 1,000.
12,000.
Now, will these be for sale, or is the company going to retain ownership?
Well, I think that they're potentially for sale, but that's one of the reasons why we have the HOA, and of course, they will probably build them and sell them under that circumstance, under that approach. That justifies why we'd actually plat it as well. If it's only defined under single ownership, that would be more the reason to do it as an R3, as one cohesive unit at that point.
All right, other questions from the commissioners?
Yes, who's going to be responsible for the maintenance of the units and the lawn care? Is that going to be a company or individual owners?
Well, it will be individual owners right now, and that's one of the reasons why I felt it was really imperative to get with the surrounding HOAs to make sure that we have information and covenants established and in place to make sure they're regulated. And one of the things you run into is you can't really do that with the PUD, because there's only restrictive information that the city can enforce at that point. And so therefore, that's why I really felt that it was really imperative to work with the surrounding HOAs. From what I understand, actually from what I've reviewed even, the HOA that was for that Rosewood is really pretty extensive, and they really have some good ideas. And so that's what gave me the idea to kind of mirror that, and even to work with them and say, actually I asked Rhonda at the time, I said, if you find some place that you feel that yours could have been, pardon the French, beefed up a little bit, then we will probably look at that and consider that to make sure that the entire development stays nice, actually.
Other questions?
So you're not seeking any special financing for over 55 or any of that?
No, sir. No, sir. That's part of the issues. If you do that, you're actually more as a tax credit or, call it HUD supplemental housing. This is all private housing. There is no supplemental anything on this.
Other questions? Anyone care to read the motion?
Y'all read it. In the case of the application for rezoning submitted by Landis Engineering LLC, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with staff findings. I move that rezoning of the subject property be recommended for approval to the City Council.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we vote on this, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak about this item? If you do, please come to the microphone, say your name and address, and say your piece.
My name's Ed Brown. I live at 690 North Yukon Parkway, just less than half a mile north of this proposed development. My big issue is going to be traffic at the intersection of Yukon Parkway and 66. we've got that new development across the street of all those other townhouses and duplexes that hasn't even started yet, and you're going to have 26 to 52 more cars every morning feeding out onto Yukon Parkway. And you've got that daycare right there, and you've got that church that has activities every day and every night. You've got Walmart right there, and it's going to be a headache going to work in the morning. And they have no other way to get out of there except on Yukon Parkway. And it's going to be a mess. It's going to be bad enough with the new addition, with all those duplexes and townhouses. Now, I know they can feed out onto Main Street, but most of them won't, because they're probably going to be going to I-40 or in towards Oklahoma City. And I'm just real concerned about the backup of traffic. You take your life in your own hands if you want to cross the street there to go to the library or something like that. And to me, that's a huge issue, the traffic concern.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there someone else that'd like to speak to this item? Please come forward. Wait just a minute till you get up there so we can.
4108 Evening Star Court in Rosewood, and I would just like to know,
Your name again?
Debbie Story,
Okay.
if there is a plan to widen Mustang Road right there, because it's really hard to get to the traffic off of Main Street into Rosewood, and it's the only part of Mustang Road that is not 4 lanes. And recently they put in new sidewalks, and I don't see a place where you're going to do it. You're going to have to move utilities or something, and you're running into brick walls there that the additions have put around. And so in order to handle that, what's, like he said, what is already planning to be built there, we're just not going to be able to get out of there. So I would like to know if there is a plan. Has anybody discussed that, about widening that area right there?
I'm not aware of any. That could be on the long-term plan, but I don't believe staff even knows, do you, Mitchell?
Yeah, right now it is on the long-term plan. It'll be some time, but what they're required to do, the developer, each track that develops along the section line road, which is Yukon Parkway, they're required to pay for half-street paving fee in lieu for that and drainage. So we are collecting the money. Once we get enough money, we'll start that process.
Okay.
It was on the ACOG plan and got knocked off, and we're trying to get it back on the ACOG plan so we can have some help and funding to do that.
So this developer will have to put up money to the city for half of a road.
Well, 2 lanes of concrete road, yes, as well as storm drain. He'll be required to put up fee in
For his length of
for his
property.
length of property where it butts.
So are we talking, we're going to do it, I heard that maybe we will just have a turn lane, but is there a plan to make it a
Ma'am, I don't know what the plans are. Like Mitchell said, there are plans in the future to widen that road as it goes forward, but it could be next year, it could be 5 years.
Exactly.
We just don't, I don't know.
So we're going to have 5 years of traffic
No,
backing
don't
up.
say 5
Well,
That was just an
no,
example.
I think it's very possible it could. I know how things go, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I don't think anybody up here can answer your question.
So you think that it's okay to go ahead and put more buildings there before we can handle
We
the
haven't
traffic?
voted on it yet, ma'am.
Right, okay. I'm just trying to get your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else? Now, you're welcome to speak.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hear about traffic again. We've heard it twice now. Okay, go ahead. Say your name and
I'm Matthew Garrett,
address, please.
650 North Yukon Parkway. I don't want to belabor the traffic point, but I too share the concern about the traffic point. As you likely know, Yukon Parkway or Mustang Road does not continue north. So for someone like myself who works in Northwest Oklahoma City, that is my only option going south, and it is bottlenecked down to 2 lanes, as was mentioned. A few other things I just wanted to talk about. You know, I know that they reached out to Rosewood and talked to their HOA, and I live on the east side of Yukon Parkway. It is a dramatically different area than the west side. You know, the west side is very dense. I live on 9 1/4 acres. I have 12 neighbors that are on elk or moose, I don't remember which one it is, that are on acre lots, 3/4 of an acre, a 5 acre to the south of me. This is a, you know, large land area on this east side, and something this tight and dense, you know, I know we have it with river birch, but it's not really in keeping with this side. You know, the reality is it's coming at some point, but I'd sure like to see some more commercial development on that area. I'd sure hate to kind of move in a super dense way towards that. And you know, we got the corn development, river birch there. You know, it's fine, and I'm not saying I'm not, you know, I'm fully opposed to that. But with the townhomes going in across the street from this proposed development, we're looking at a total change in kind of that environment. I mean, it's only a matter of time before these bigger tracks, be it, you know, a lot or 2 south of me, or some of those church buildings that are little more than, you know, a small building, a small steel building, get knocked down for more housing. I just hate to see the kind of agricultural larger level go away. So that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anyone else care to comment on this? We have to vote 3 times on this because we have to do the rezone and then the preliminary plat and the what else?
The PUD.
The PUD, yes. Okay, so on this first item, the rezone, is there someone care to read the draft motion? Or do we already have a
Yeah,
motion?
we read it.
We're in motion and a second, so we're ready to vote. Call the roll, Kathy.
Chairman Taylor?
No.
Commissioner Davis?
No.
Vice Chair Baker?
No.
Commissioner Gerba?
No.
Commissioner Geis?
No.
So do we continue on, Mitchell, or Judge, if we voted no on the rezone?
Can't go forward with a no vote on the rezone.
Okay.
Striking items. what, 5
So
and
we
6?
will be striking items 6 and 7.
Or is it 5 and 6?
5 and 6.
5 and 6. 5, 6, and we are ready for item 7. Sorry, sir. We just, with that development across the street, these folks, they have a real point there right now.
Do I have to speak?
You may.
Okay. No, and I understood when we were looking at the Rosewood, they even communicated, you know, I communicated with several of the property owners out there, and I was aware, Yukon Parkway, the 2-lane aspect of it is one of the big concerns that everybody had out there, and I understood that, and we agreed. I think from the conversation we had with Mitchell and everything else, one of the ways to actually get that moving forward, and please correct me if I'm not, is by having the developments where the actual developers pay the fee in lieu of to create the funds for the development of the road. If I am correct, at this point, pretty much most of the road to a certain mileage had actually been covered with this development.
Well, the problem is with the road, when we researched it and they did some preliminary drawings, the storm drain is gonna be the biggest issue, going all the way to Wagner Road. So that's the cost, the significant cost of the developing of and widening of Yukon Parkway, so.
Okay.
And maybe you can come back with something else for us on that piece of ground.
Well, the current use is right now what, C3, commercial?
C2?
C2, so I'll be able to revise this and just put in offices, office building, commercial office buildings.
Something like that.
Higher density.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Item 7 is a request by Dean Colada, Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Daycar Construction for a rezone from C1 Office District to R1 PUD Single Family District located at 1109 Landmark Drive, Yukon, Oklahoma. This is Lot 1, Block 10 of Sunrise Hills, addition, Section 2 to the City of Yukon, Canadian County. Is there someone here for that?
Good evening, Dean Colita, Civil and Environmental Consultants, 4045 Northwest 64th, Suite 415, Oklahoma City, 73116.
Thank you, sir.
And on this project here is a little bit straightforward. There's an existing undeveloped lot that's zone C1 Office District, and the owner, Dave Carr Construction, he is proposing to rezone this and downzone this to a less intensity use of R1 to construct 3 single-family homes. It does meet the comprehensive plan and is compatible with the surrounding areas. There's residential just across the street, and then there's also next to a detention pond there, so all the drainage is already taken care of. So essentially, the only variance to R1 zoning is due to the width of the lot. To get 3 lots on there, we're requesting a 53-foot wide minimum instead of the 60, so we can fit the 3 homes there. And we have worked with the city planner and addressed all their comments. We staggered for architectural purposes, we staggered the lots, the setbacks on the homes themselves to get a bit more of an aesthetic look. We have, adjusted the PUD accordingly to the comments that the city has asked us to do. So, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And these homes would be as large or larger than the existing homes in the area. New construction, up to current building codes and everything, because I guess the neighborhood, is a little bit older there on the south side. So, be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So they'll cover more than 35% of the lot?
No, sir. We'll meet we'll not exceed over 35% of the lot. Yes, sir.
That's all you had? So these homes, the square footage of them will be compatible with the nice homes across the street?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's your estimation of the square footage?
1,900 feet to 2,200 feet or so. I think there's some 1,700 square feet of house on the road to the south of there, so it'll be basically in the middle of all the other lots that are there, square footage was. And the lot itself is obviously larger because the depth. So really, just the width is all we're asking for variance for. So.
I really have a hard time imagining 3 homes on that piece of ground. I worked in that building till we had to move, and it's up for sale. But,
and the staggering, the way the lots are so deep, and the way we can stagger the homes out, that's kind of why the city planner requested us to stagger those. So as we go further to towards the pond, the homes would stagger back, so it would get that more of an open feel. So as you're driving down the road, you can kind of see the pond, because the houses will be staggered back. So for aesthetics wise, that's how we address that concern.
what about the pond, that home that will be right beside it? Are y'all going to install a wall, a fence, or?
It'll be a fence, correct. There'll be probably a view fence, wrought iron view fence on that side. And there's a trail there that we will be relocating to make sure that the pond has access for the running trail there. So everything will be intact.
They fish out of that every year.
Yes, yeah, that will not be impacted at all. No, sir.
So there will still be room on that west side of the pond for people to sit down and throw a rod in?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've got a question for Mitchell. Do you see any issues? Basically it's about a 6-foot deviation here from the standard. Does that bring anything with it, basically, as you get a little bit smaller in these lots like that and kind of jam a little, another home in there? What do you see any issues that we're gonna have with
The
that?
house would be narrower than normal, and it'd be deeper than normal,
Just basically aesthetics, in other words?
yes.
So the lot line ends up being the same. The space between the house and the lot line.
Yes,
ends up
they'll
being the
still
same.
maintain the 10 feet between the houses, 5 foot off the side,
5 foot on each side of the house.
yes.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Someone care to read the draft motion on this?
I'll grab it. In the case of the rezoning application by Dave Carr Construction Incorporated, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with the staff findings cited in the staff reports. I move that this item be recommended for approval to the city council.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak to this item, the rezone? Now would be the time. No one? Call the roll, please.
Chairman Taylor?
Yes?
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerba?
Yes.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Item 8 is a request by Dean, say your last name again?
Colita.
Colita Civil and Environmental Consultant, Inc., on behalf of Descartes Construction for a planned unit development located at 1109 Landmark Drive, Yukon, Oklahoma. This is Lot 1, Block 10 of Sunrise Hills, Section 2, City of Yukon. So basically, this is the continuation. Any questions on the PUD from the commissioners? Okay, do we have someone like to read the draft motion on it?
I'll read it.
Okay,
In the case of the application for a PUD submitted, Dave Carr Construction, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with the staff findings. I move that the PUD of Block 10, Lot 1 of Sunrise Hills, Section 2, be recommended for approval to the City Council with the following conditions. And that condition was that add requirement in Section 9.14 regarding the staggering of the proposed structures on lots 1 through 3, so they are not aligned at the front building line.
do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Anybody want a question? Seeing none, call the roll, Kathy.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerba?
No.
Vice Chair Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Chairman Taylor?
Yes. And item 9, request by Dean Colada of Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc., on behalf of Descartes Construction for a preliminary plat located at 1109 Landmark Drive, Lot 1, Block 10 of Sunrise Hills, Section 2, City of Yukon. This is the preliminary plat. They'll have to come back to us with a final plat. Someone care to read the motion on this?
Got it?
Okay?
In the case of the application for a preliminary plat by Dave Carr Construction, we have read the staff report and received testimony at the public hearing. We find ourselves in agreement with the staff recommendations cited in the staff report. I move that this item be recommended for approval to City Council with the following conditions. Applicant must add the legal description to the plat. Applicant must add a note to the plat regarding the staggering of the proposed structures across the 3 lots. Number 3, applicant must change the name of the plat to reflect a new subdivision with replat subtype.
Yes, we could accept those, yes, sir.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Anyone care to comment? Call the roll, please, Kathy.
Chairman Taylor?
Yes.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Gerba?
No.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll see you whenever you get these requirements done. Item 10 is new business.
Mr. Chairman, there's no new business.
Thank you. Open discussion. Any of the commissioners have anything they want to say? Talk about.
nothing that the cruise in that they had downtown last week went down pretty well, and it looks like that's going to be expanding. So it's kind of cool to see these kind of things coming into Yukon and bringing more people down to Route 66.
Right.
I'm excited for Check Fest coming up.
Check Fest. I'd like to thank Commissioner Baker for handling the meeting last month when I was in the hospital, and glad to be back on my feet, more or less. 22 pounds lighter, but if anybody like to lose some weight, go have some back surgery and see what happens. Okay. If there's no further discussion, this meeting will be adjourned until October the 14th.